Welcome back, Stasa23 here, back again with some knife therapy. And before I get started, if you like this video, please drop a thumbs up on it. It helps out the channel a whole bunch. If not, thumbs down works as well. And if you like knife content and you're not already, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any content. Alrighty, today I have for you the Kershaw High Ball XL. The High Ball XL comes in at $53. And they had an original highball that was a 6.75 inch knife with a 2.75 inch blade. So when people hear XL, they think it's going to be a ginormous knife. But this is still a medium to small size knife, in my opinion. And let's get those specs so you can kind of have an idea. You have a total blade, you have a total length of 7.5 inches. So just, what, about a half inch longer than the other one? No, 3/4 of an inch longer than the other one, I think. Blade length of 3.25 inches. You have a grip area from here to the back right here of 3.5 inches. You have a closed thickness in the pocket of 0.40 inches, so it's nice and slim in this dimension, and it's pretty slim in this dimension as well at 1.12 inches wide. The blade stock thickness comes in at 0.12 inches, and my particular variation comes in at around 25 thousandths behind the edge. I have sharpened mine, so mine is like, I think 26 thousandths now, but it was 25 before I started. Before we break into my final thoughts, let's break off into some cutting footage, and y'all let me know what y'all think. Be right back. All right, we're gonna check the edge. It's wearing my edge. I went to a polish on this one. Got that edge nice and warm. Let's see. Let's see. Definitely has a small hang up already. Right there. Yep. It's got a small, very tiny hang up. Okay, we're gonna cut some 3/8 twisted sisal rope. I'll try to cut 20-25 cuts or so, and I'm just trying to see how well it slices. Alrighty, it did great. Slices amazingly. Let's see how it is in that front portion. No problem. Just like another Kershaw was testing earlier, these thin scales, they're comfortable in a lot of grips, but when you're bearing down, the thin scales can fatigue your hand a good bit, and they're not super comfortable when you're pushing down hard. Something I noticed. Now we're going to cut up a bunch of different materials. We got some 2 different kinds of straps, like a seatbelt type strap and a strap for a vehicle to tie down stuff. Some bridle leather, saddle leather, whatever you want to call it. Some double-walled hose, and some very thick, dense hose. Start with this. the sharpness. Oh, I think I got something on the blade. Maybe not. There's a couple of small hang-ups. Okay, we're going to test ergos on this little piece of 2x4. We're just going to do some slicing, see how it feels and how it's slicing. Alrighty. One thing I noticed, this hump right here, my finger right up in here lands on that little bump right there, and I didn't notice it doing anything else, but when I was doing these pressure cuts into the wood, I noticed that right off the back. Plus this thin handle, even though it carries nicely and performs great in other tasks, when you're doing those pressure cuts, I found that you have to hold it in that saber grip, or I had to hold it in the saber grip in order to have control of the blade. Okay, we're gonna go through a few different zip ties. We got a doubled up one right here. These are, I think, both either 25 or 30. This is, they're 25, let's see it right now. 25 here, and I'm pretty sure this is 150 pound. This is one right here that I just cut, nice and thick. All right, we will try to just slide it in these, and got both of those at the same time. We'll do a push cut, very easy. And let's see, nice. Let's try to very nice. This thing slices pretty darn nice. The sharpness. Nice. Alrighty, now we're gonna, this is old small jumper cables that used to be in my truck. We're gonna try to just slice it and see how well it slices. This doesn't usually give knives a problem. Let's see how well it slices through. Piece of cake, and that's just a scratch in the polish right there. We'll do it again. God, this knife cuts so well. Let's see if it did anything to that edge. We might have dulled just that spot, but you never know. Nope. The entirety of the edge. It's definitely not as sharp as it was when it started, but it's still really sharp. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that cutting footage. I enjoyed making it for y'all, but let's get a good look at this knife. You had that beautiful clip point blade shape. As you can see, you have dual fullers on both sides. You have a very long extended row of jimping, so you definitely gonna reach that jimping, and it's done very well. I love if they're gonna put jimping, when they do that fine jimping like that, it gives you good traction, very good traction. But if you don't want it, you can also slide your fingers over it without it ripping your thumb up. You have a pretty nice point for piercing. If I didn't say this before, this is D2 blade steel. You have Kershaw logo here and the model number, D2 steel, and their little logo when it's an in-house design. This particular model was made in China. Let's close it up. It's got a nice smooth action. It's not an assisted knife. This one is riding on their KVT ball bearing system, just a caged ball bearing system, as you can see, with a brass cage and its stainless steel balls in there. Very smooth, snappy action. You can slow roll it. I like to spotty flick it. You can easily catch a hold of that. And if you want to be discreet about it, you can also two-hand deploy it. Let's go to the scales. You have, well, just like on the blade, you have a bead blasted blade, and they matched it up with bead blasted stainless steel scales with this deep chamfer going all the way around that kind of gives it that contoured effect, and it feels nicely in hand. Through all my cutting, it was very comfortable up until I got into the pressure cuts, into the wood and stuff like that. You have a blue colored decorative pivot, and that hole is not, as you can see, it's just a hole. It's not the Torx head right there. It's on this side. You have a Torx T8 for the pivot, and it's a shallow pivot. I did slip a few times because I took it apart to clean it out after the testing. You have a blue colored lock bar over travel plate right here. Deep carry pocket clip, left or right hand carry. Like to see that. Black colored T6 body screws. Your screws on this are not black, but they are flush. And they're flush everywhere except right here in the pivot because of the design on the pivot. Let's see what that looks like in the pocket. It goes in the pocket very nicely. It is a little slick, so you just gotta, pay attention whenever you put it in your pocket, depending on how thick the material is. If it's thin, you might not want to wear it because it might slide out. But in jeans, it was just fine. The weight kept it down. Speaking of weight, this knife with the stainless steel D2 blade came in at 3.5 ounces. So, 3.8 ounces. Definitely not a heavy knife by any means. I carried it for a good while and I had no problems whatsoever. The access to the lock bar is nice. The lock side sits a little proud of the show side scale, and you have that nice little cutout, so it's nice and comfortable to disengage. You have a blue backspacer that's FRN with a little hole like down the middle just to give it a little design flair, I guess. Let's see, I think you can, you can thumb flick it as well. All right, so overall, the knife sliced really well. It just goes to show you, as long as you have a super sharp knife, it's going to slice well, no matter how thick it is behind the edge on most stuff. Rubber and stuff like that tends to bind if it's thick behind the edge. Like when I do that thick tubing, if it's thick behind the edge, it's a good bit more difficult to cut. Let's get some size comparisons and then I'll go into my nitpicks. I'm sorry, I'm kind of trying to hurry. First, you got the SOG Terminus XR is smaller, and the Kaiser Lotvin Mini is also smaller. Got the Ontario Rat Model 1 is going to be bigger, and the Rat 2 should be a good bit, it should be closer. So there you go. You can see the Rat 1 dwarfs it. Rat 2 is much, much closer. Alrighty, so let's talk about my nitpicks complaints. First off, the bead blast, man, that was almost a deal breaker for me, but I'll probably stone wash it. I have some polishing porcelain that I'll probably hit this with, because I sprayed EDCI on this blade whenever I first got it to try to fight the corrosion here in Louisiana. And even with that EDCI, I did develop some rust spots. Nothing that I couldn't get off without, a problem. But if I wouldn't have had that EDCI, it would have definitely rusted bad. I do not understand why they would bead blast a steel that is not really a stainless steel. It's close, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't say long term, but if you do decide to get it, I would definitely keep corrosion inhibitor, especially if you live in a humid environment like I do. All right, the next thing is, as you can see, I was kind of trying to hurry so I could sharpen this up for the testing, but you can see where that edge termination went back to and it flared out. Now, don't worry about that. That's my problem, but you can kind of see how it sticks up a little bit. Kershaw's always had a terrible problem with edge termination, leaving a big smile at the end. Just ugly. And one last thing that I noticed, my local shop had 3 of these, and this is one of them, and all 3 of them had very soft detents. I had to take this one apart and bend the lock bar over that way in order to get this nicer, snappy action and a good solid detent. I could easily flick it down and it would come out. Now, I don't know if it was just their 3 that they had, but just something to note. But overall, I like the knife. I would love to see ZT make a premium version of this. I know I would buy it. This thing performed nicely in the testing. It was a good slicer. It looks good. After the detent fix, it's got snappy action. I love the fact that it's on KVT. Their D2 is pretty good. It's sharpened up easily. So, yeah, I would recommend this knife, for a good budget knife. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful day. Now let's check out that outro. Peace.